Okay, hello, hello, hello. We're so excited to have you all with us tonight, whether you're tuning in from the West Coast, the Central, or the East Coast. I'm world famous Bob, and if I don't know where to look, it's because I'm old, kids, and this is the internet. It's all new to me. I am speaking to you live from the Pink Poodle Palace, my home in Austin, Texas, and my little girl, Lola Beans, the one-eyed blind poodle, would like to say, Happy Pride. We're so excited you all could join us, and we have some fantastic people for Campfire this evening. I want to acknowledge that it's the 51st anniversary of the Stonewall riot, or what I like to call the riot-versary. And it's also the 50th anniversary, or the March-versary of the first Gay Pride March after the Stonewall riots. I want to take a moment at the top of tonight's Campfire Queer Storytime, Austin location, Virtual Pride Edition 2020, to encourage each and every person to research the fantastic and incredibly strong and courageous trans women of color and other forgotten people when it comes to this Pride celebration. There's a documentary called The Death and Life of Marsha P. Johnson that if you have not seen it yet, I would like to encourage you to watch it as part of your celebration of our movement. And one of my favorite quotes of hers is, "No pride for some of us without liberation for all of us." Marsha's death is still unsolved, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done around that. So I just want to encourage you to do that. Welcome, happy Pride. All right, Lola Beans, you ready? So I want to thank Melissa at the Vortex so much for giving Campfire a home. I would like to thank my official gay husband, Richard, who's normally signing people up live at the Vortex because of social distancing. Obviously, this is how we're doing it now. And I'd like to thank all of you, my guests. And it's without further ado that I'd like to introduce you to the person that helped make this all possible, my tech gay, Josh.
Hi, thanks, Bob. Hello. I'm coming to you live from outdoor Austin. So I would like to just thank Bob so much for this opportunity to help bring Campfire. It's been a huge thing for me and my partner since we moved here in Austin. And just it being Pride Month, I just wanted to thank not only Bob for bringing this to us, but also some of our great gay friends that we've met here in Austin, David and Joseph. They've been instrumental in us being able to meet you and help make this happen. But then also, of course, my parents and my partner for just always kind of being there and supporting me, even though, you know, there's been some bumps on the road, but it's been exciting. So I'm super excited to be here. So thank you for having me and letting me help, Bob.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Having a tech gay has changed my entire world. I felt very isolated and cut off, and my drag kids do their best. But you know, when a cute guy in a tank top with fringe,
I'm pocket size too.
I'm not the one to say no. Okay, so we're waiting on Dusty. We are waiting on Dusty's shoulders, and I am curious if Damani Moyd would be able to start the show. If I could have, I'm so excited to have you here. If you could unmute yourself. I know you were supposed to have a beautiful intro by Dusty. And I'm just praying and hoping that Dusty's fine, right? I'm hoping her wig was a little too tight the other day or something like that, and that she's gonna join us later. Damani, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your art?
Yes, hi. My name is Damani. Some people know me as Eden. That's my fairy name. I'm not a writer by trade. I have been working in the visual arts for 25 years as a photographer. And I also DJ as a hobby, and I write as a hobby. And so I just sort of combine all of my life experiences into occasionally sharing stories with the world, like tonight.
Well, I'm really excited because when I asked Dusty to recommend somebody from New York City, and I love your campfire in the background too.
Oh, thanks.
It's so great.
The power went out. I haven't reset the clock yet, so that's just gonna blink a little bit.
I have my little hand knit campfire right here.
Oh, cute.
When I asked Dusty to recommend somebody from New York City, you were the first person he said. And so I was really excited that you're available, and I would just love to welcome you, Damani Moyd, to the campfire.
Thank you. My dog Sunny is also here running around being crazy. There's Sunny. And yeah, thank you for that lovely intro. Would you like me to read? Do you want me to wait a little bit? Do you want me to What do you need? How can I help?
You're on mute, Bob, darling.
I'm so sorry. Whatever you want to bring to the campfire, I'm going to have you present that. And then Josh, I'm going to ask that you make it to where people just see him talking. Oh, I'm sorry. Gender pronoun.
Oh, him is fine. I like girl with a U and a kiki, but I identify as he, him.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not really hung up on the pronouns, but I'm glad that you asked, and I'm glad that people make choices for themselves.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm sorry I was late with that. So
No, good.
yeah, Damani, just do your thing. And Josh, let's just make sure that Damani is front stage and center.
Yep, he should be spotlighted.
Great. So I am sharing a small story / writing about an experience I had actually this day last year, June 28th in New York City at the Queer Liberation March. I don't know if anyone out there was at the march or know about the march, but basically it was in a parallel to the typical New York City gay pride parade, which a lot of people, take issue with for certain reasons, mostly because it's, a lot of corporations sponsor it to make money and they don't actually support the gay community when it's not the pride time of year. And so the Queer Liberation March was designed, architected, started to basically hold space for people who didn't want to consume the typical queer experience, something that was more inclusive of all of the colors of the flag and all of the genders of the flag. So I went to the Liberation March last year, and I should have been more prepared with a visual for this, but I was dressed as Coachella Beyonce. I was dressed as the first night of Beyonce's Coachella performance in 2018, which was released last year. And I found it to be, not to be a cliche or anything like that, but I really do think that she's one of the artists that are using their platforms to really invoke change. And I found her documentary, Homecoming, really not only inspiring, but just technically well done. And also the feeling of it, it felt real. And so for Pride last year, I decided I was gonna face some of my own internalized homophobia and, shame about being effeminate or whatever, trying to break down this, macho patriarchy bullshit that I inherited. And then I took that inheritance and I, used that for a long time against myself in an effort to hide my queer identity. And so last year I was dressed as Beyonce from the Coachella performance because I felt moved to do so. It all started when I just realized, hey, I've got a pair of Levi's that I could cut off and I can make cutoff shorts. My big statement last year was going to be I was going to wear cutoff shorts and I was going to flaunt my legs. Like that was as avant-garde as I was going. And so I was inspired to cut up these Levi's by her performance. And then I put the shorts on and then suddenly I thought, well, I could get a sweatshirt like that and I could make a sweatshirt like that and I could get appliques, and I just it turned into this whole thing. And I said I would keep going because the energy was there. And if I got to the point where I couldn't find the right wig, then I would do something else. And 2 days before the march, I found the right wig and it all just sort of came alive. So I spent that weekend, I did the drag march in New York City, drag march in New York City, which starts in Tompkins Square Park and then marches up Fifth Avenue and ends in front of the Stonewall, where everyone sings Over the Rainbow. Stonewall being the birthplace of our movement, really. And so that was the first night. And then the second night I went to a party dressed like Beyonce. And a lot of people were, really loving it. It was kind of like Halloween for Pride. But on the day of the Liberation March, towards the end of the march, where it starts to lead into Central Park, I imagine, if you will, a car in this lane and a car in this lane, and we sort of got to the same stoplight at the same time. And, that's Sunny. He's really cute. He's new. I met this guy who not only got that I was dressed like Beyonce from Homecoming, but he really understood. I felt like he really understood why I went that far, why I did that. And then we started talking about her. And long story short, no biting. No biting. Long story short, he and I formed this friendship, this just sort of immediate friendship. And I didn't really have any plans for the day other than being at the march. And then what happened was that I ended up spending the entire day with this guy. And it wasn't a sexual thing. It wasn't anything other than just a meeting of two people who had a very similar ethos about life. And he's a writer out of Portland. It's Oregon. It's not Maine. It's Portland, Oregon. And his name is Thomas Leonard. He's also in a band. And we just spent the day connecting in a way that I felt like, as a queer person, I was told I was not allowed to connect. You're either, in the shadows, or you're a mess with a bunch of other people who are messes and just trying to work things out. And I've been all of the things. And right now I'm in a place of, I just want to be real and I just want to be myself. And at the end of that Queer Liberation March, I met this person who really reflected that back to me. And we spent the entire day just sparking intellectually, talking about music, talking about writing. It was just a friendship was formed in a really strong way. And after that experience, he was working on a piece of work called The Year in Loss and Faggotry. This is his piece. So T.S. Leonard, if you're watching, I love you. And I'm very appreciative of our experience. So he has this work of these works. And every year I try to read something from a queer person, just for my own sense of breaking down all of the bullshit that I lay on myself. And he ended up writing a piece about that day that we met and published it. The bond between us was really strong. I mean, he literally created art out of it. So what I want to read is the piece that he wrote from that day, which was a year ago today, from the Queer Liberation March in New York City. And it's a short piece. I used most of my time telling the story. So this is called Semper Liber, Liberation Day March, and it's from The Year in Loss and Faggotry by Thomas Leonard. In the village, there are statues now and a sign offering a Snapchat augmented reality experience because it's June and Judy died 50 years ago, and where are all the bricks? This is the gay thing, a passing son said, like it's settled. In the village, we had come up from underground carrying flags because it's June and the 60s died 50 years ago. And where are all the bricks? This was the original route, the old timer said, of the Christopher Street Liberation Day Parade. Then we went uptown in stripes, and it was not 1970, but we were hurtling up the avenue, drag Jesus dancing on a milk crate in front of a cop car singing Smile on Your Brother. And it wasn't not 1970. Around 23rd Street, we paused for a moment of silence. And when the sound came back, it thundered down the island. Around 41st Street, we paused to get beer and were pleasantly buzzed by Central Park. Then it started to pour, and it was not 1969, but we were stuck in the mud, huddled with the dogs and queens, and singing Someone Left Their Cake Out in the Rain, and it wasn't not 1969. Sometime in this must be when Larry Kramer spoke, and I'm sure I would have liked to hear it, but we'd been marching all day and it felt so good to just be faggots, giggling under a tree, unrepentant faggotry. And then we went downtown and it was trashed with glitter and rainbow souvenirs, sold to tourists in the garden of earthly delights. And we were singing, take these lies and make them true somehow. And we went up to a party over Christopher Street and it was not 1985, it was 2019. But the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence were lighting cake candles in the kitchen, dancing to Once I Had a Love, and it was divine. And it wasn't not 1985. We had been marching and dancing and feeling good, just being faggots, and it wasn't not 2019. In the village, we were statues now, and it wasn't Snapchat, but it wasn't not an augmented reality experience. It was June, and Judy died 50 years ago, and where are all the bricks? In Kansas, maybe there is still a little boy in blue gingham waiting to be blown away. Manhattan was just a rumor then. In Kansas, our teeth clenched at the key changed, and we watched bluebirds fly. Christopher Street was a whispered secret, and you had to see it to believe it. This is the gay thing, our passing father said, and we followed. Follow, 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 and follow. There's no place like this anymore. We traded sidewalks for golden bricks and made the marvelous land of us. We built new cities from throne brick and stone, and names will never hurt me.
Damani, Moy, thank you so much.
That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I definitely, I'll reach out to you. I want to purchase a copy of that book if it's available. I don't know if their stuff is available anywhere to get. I really, really loved the story too about those authentic connections that are so rare, I feel, nowadays. Thank you so much for being at Campfire. We have next up, I relocated to Austin from New York City after 21 years in the Big Apple 3 years ago. And what really makes a place a home are the people in it and the quality of the connections you have. And through doing Campfire, I met Joseph and Dave. And through meeting Joseph and Dave, I met Josh, my tech gay, and his incredible partner, Demetrius. So I'd like to thank Demetrius for his patience. He was scheduled to share at the Campfire once before, and it got rained out. And then again, and there was a fire, not at the Campfire. So without further ado, please welcome Demetrius to the Campfire.
Ooh, am I on? Ooh, well, hi everybody. So, my name is Demetrius, if you didn't hear that one. And in typical Campfire fashion, it is raining outside. So we are very much living up to the whole Campfire experience. Stu, for today, I want to thank you everyone for showing up. I know a lot of you were forced to come here, as i.e. our friends and such. But again, I want to thank you for showing up. This is amazing to have a lot of people here. And I am just going to start talking about just a simple story. If you want to see or hear a more risque story, if you would, you should come to the next Campfire, because I hope to be speaking then again, because I love talking. But this time I'm just going to talk about my coming out. And how that started was, it was about 6 years ago. Yeah, about 6 years ago. I came out first to my best friend in high school. His name was Kevin, and we did everything together. We're thick as thieves, if you would. And it was just, after one day of hanging out, we went to the local Whataburger, and it was about 12 in the morning. I got my usual honey butter chicken biscuits because I have to. And we just kept talking about so many things. And then I just felt like it was time to come out to myself, because I always knew I had these feelings that I liked, more, not more than girls, basically. And I felt more of a attraction to the same sex. And so I just flat out spilled my heart out, almost to the verge of tears. And he was very happy that I was willing enough to tell him about this, because
it's a pretty big deal, especially in Texas. And so he is still a good friend to this day. And like I am glad I came out to him and not to someone else who I would have either gotten a negative and or violent review from. And then my second time is coming out would be technically to my sister, then to my mom. But my sister, my older sister, she definitely knew because I would help her do her hair. I would check out boys with her without me saying I'm gay. And so it wasn't a shock to her, definitely coming out to her. But my mom, that was a very different story. And just to preface this, like it was very hard because before I was kind of experimenting with the whole sexuality thing, and so I never really knew exactly what I was. I still like girls. Was dabbling with men, and I never thought that, oh hey, I was just gay. I was just bisexual, and so and one day her and my father found out that I had signed up for a lovely little online chat room, and I put my sexual preference as bisexual, and that erupted into a huge argument between my mom and my dad of how could, like, you don't know what you want, like this is just a phase. So any notion of even trying to come out or express my feelings was pushed back heavily. And so my sister worked up the courage to tell me to like just come out to my mom. And so I tried my best. I didn't want to do it because obviously I didn't know her reaction and how, because I've heard, stories from all of my friends, not all of my friends, but a lot of my friends whom they've come out and they were disowned or even abused and beaten because of that. And so I never thought to actually do it because I didn't want that to be a result of me coming out and or me having to tell my family and have my mom be shunned, because family is a big part of my life, obviously, with all my Austin family here. Um, and so the day came, my sister walked me down, and I was trying to avoid the subject altogether. I was doing my classic talk around it, not talk to it. Um, Basically, just address it, but not address it in the way. And Josh is over here trying to smile and nod with me, but I'm ignoring that. And so I was getting around and I almost said it, but then I stopped because I realized I was about to say I'm gay. And I did definitely stop, but then my sister she pushed me very much to she said, just say it, just say it. And so I said it and I just spewed it out like, hey, I don't remember the exact words me or her said, but my words are around the words of like, I'm gay. The guy, my friend who I would bring over is my actual boyfriend, and I like men. And her words were basically around the same as my sister's of, I know I still love you no matter what, and now you have to tell everybody else. So I did. There was a lot of hugs, a lot of crying, and then had time to tell my family, which I come from a both Black and Hispanic family. So two big, very different lives. And one side doesn't talk to me, give or take one or like a couple people here and there. And on the other side, I came out in a way where it was me, because I had spent so many years not being me that I just had to come out in a way that was me, which, and Josh will say it's kind of a bully, if you would. It's again, I am throwing you on the bus, but no, it was, I came out in my way of, hey, this is me. I'm not changed. I have not changed. I'm still the same person. I just don't fit into your typical man and woman like relationship, like desire. And for the most part, I got a lot of positive reviews with that, and but I wasn't expecting. And that's, I know that can't be said for a lot of people who have come out in the past or even now that give a positive family reaction. But I'm glad that I had that, as well as finding the friends that I have who accept me for not only who I am, but as a person, but as everything else altogether. And so I guess, sorry, the meaning behind my story is just be yourself. I know it's hard. It's tough not to be yourself given situations, circumstances. But in the end, if you are yourself, you will find people who will love you for who you are. And so that is my story. So thank you very much, Bob, for this opportunity. And I hope to see you very soon.
Thank you so much, Demetrius. I hope to see you too.
I know.
Thank you. I can't wait to hug you. I can't
I
wait.
know.
It's so if it's your first time coming to Campfire, now's a really great time to let you know Campfire Queer Storytime was started, I think almost 4 years ago, if not over 4 years ago, in New York City. Dusty Shoulders is my partner in crime, and we were laying on a gay beach, Jacob Reese, hey, and he is such an active fan and he is the person that fills the front row of every artist he loves shows over and over and over again. And he would come night after night after night to my shows, to the same show, but always with a different person. And that's how I met him. He was just this beam and gentle tornado of color. Oh, it's looping, everyone. Just this gentle, hold on, we're having tech issues. So, if anyone in the Pink Poodle Palace is watching on a computer or TV, you need to stop now. Thank you. So when I met Dusty, that's who he was, and that's who he still is. He's this gentle tornado of magic, love, and glitter. And I was really excited to have him here tonight. And I'm checking my messages, and it does not. Okay, so we're just gonna send him love. Campfire Queer Storytime. People are invited to come to the campfire, and it happens at Dixon Place once a month. Dusty hosts that one, and I host and coordinate the Austin Campfire Queer Storytime. People who are asked to share are given 10 minutes, a rough estimate, and you can do a ritual, you can sing a song, you can teach us a dance, you can read your favorite poet, you can read your own writing, you can tell a story with or without notes. It's story time. So it's a time for us to gather around the campfire and share our community's strongest asset, and that's our stories. With that, I'm going to go ahead and do my story, and hopefully Dusty will pop in. I love you, Dusty. I hope you're probably taking a much deserved nap. I moved to New York City in 1996 from San Francisco, and I moved there with my gay fiance, right? And we went and stayed with a friend that I had never met. A really good friend of mine had set up a place for me and my gay fiance to stay, a place to sleep on the floor for a couple weeks before we got our own place. I was in New York City for 3 days, and I instantly fell in love with Benjamin, Benjamin, the person whose floor me and my gay fiance were sleeping on. We fell in love 3 days after me and my gay fiance had arrived. My gay fiance went back to San Francisco to check on finances. I have not seen them since. And that was over 25 years ago. I called and received a message from a person who answered the phone laughing at me saying, he's never coming back. You're so stupid. So I found myself heartbroken in New York City, like any good queer person's story starts, right? It's like the made for TV gay special. I found myself in a situation unlike any other. I was in New York City. All of my family was in San Francisco. I was broke. I had about 4 wigs and 10 press kits that had real 3x5 prints in them with my information. And I moved to New York City to become a star, and I had no place to stay. So Benjamin offered me a place to stay. He looked at me and said, I don't have a drag mother and I need one. And so the biggest magical act that could ever happen did. And I got offered a floor to sleep on in New York City. The day before that happened, I was very depressed, and I was rethinking a lot of my life choices. And I actually made a list of 2 columns why I should kill myself on one side and why I shouldn't on the other. And I found myself writing why I shouldn't and listing all the names of people I loved, and also that I didn't really have any means to do it, and it would be a horrible way to thank this person for giving me a place to stay. And so I called one of the people on that list, and his name is Jeff. I called Jeff back in San Francisco, and I told him what happened, and I was crying and I didn't know what to do. And he said, well, I can wire you $150, but that's what I can do. And I was like, not calling asking for money. I was calling asking for advice, but I thanked him because I knew that would come in handy since I had nothing. And he said, there's going to be a condition on the release of the money. You're going to have to say something specific in order for her to hand it to you. There's going to be directions for them. And I said, what? And he said, you have to walk up to the Western Union person, look them straight in the eyes and say, I'm a star, before you can get the money. I thought he was kidding. I thought it was really sweet. I was in an emotional thunderstorm, if you will. And about a year or so later, all of these people, my family in San Francisco, joined me in New York City. It was the plan. I just always have to be the first person to stick the flag in the moon, if you know what I mean. And we were all reunited in New York City. And my career started to lift off. I had stayed and I had just persevered, and I'd worked really, really, really hard in the nightclubs and 3-day jobs and just done what I had to in order to make my dreams come true. The night I met Jeff was in a San Francisco nightclub. I think it might have been the End Up, and we ended up talking all night long. He invited me back to his place, and we stayed up all night until the sun came up, smoking cigarettes and drinking. And he looked at me at one point and he asked me, are you hungry? And I was so relieved, because as a nightclub personality, nobody ever offered me food. You're in a bar, they offered me drinks, they offered me drugs, and I worked in clubs, and that's how I made my meager living. And I lived in a weekly hotel most of the time. And that took up most of my money, and I didn't have a kitchen, so I didn't have food. And I said, oh, I would love a sandwich. And so he sent his roommate to the deli, and he said, what kind of sandwich would you like? And I looked at him and said, egg salad. And he went, ew. So we enjoyed our sandwiches. He brought me back an egg salad sandwich. And that's how we spent our first night together. 13 years ago, I went to visit Jeff in the hospital where he was dying. It was not completely out of the blue, but it was, if that makes sense. We knew he was positive, but we thought everything was handled. We knew he was HIV positive, but that's not a death sentence anymore. What we didn't know was that he had stopped taking his medicine. And he went into the hospital on April 4th. And April 29th, he left his body. I was working as a sales girl at a vintage shop, And I just had this feeling, and I said, I have to go. I can't stand here and listen to people complain about prices when my best friend is in the hospital dying. So my manager let me go. I ran to the hospital, and it was the last time I saw him coherent enough to say anything to me. And he looked me straight up in the eyes, and he smiled, and he said, "You're ugly." You have to understand that means I love you in Jeff language. And he was also suffering from dementia. He had a viral infection in the white mass of his brain. It thrilled me to no end that he had such sass for his last message. I mentioned that my chosen family came from San Francisco to New York about a year after I landed. And when my career started taking off, I invited Jeff and some other friends to a show at a nearby bar where I was doing a burlesque routine. And when Jeff walked in, I handed him a check. And when he looked at the check, the amount was for $150. And the memo said, "I'm a star." I indeed went to Western Union the night he told me to go. And I indeed, through tears and snow-covered lashes and a green wig put on backwards and a black cat suit that was so stretched out the person I borrowed it from let me have it. My only pair of platform shoes. I walked up to that window and I told the person who I was and that I wanted the money. And they said, "There's a statement attached to it." And I said, "I'm a star." When I handed Jeff the check for $150, and he looked at the memo and it said, "I'm a star," that's when I felt a huge sense of pride that the person who saw in me what I couldn't see in myself wasn't wrong, right? So often people see these versions of us that are grander than we think, or they describe you and you look behind you to see who this amazing person is. But in that small moment, not just because I had raised the money, but because I had stood on my own 2 feet and I had persevered and I did throw that list away and I did push forward and I didn't give up. I felt like he had made a good investment. So I want to thank Jeff on this Gay Pride for being my gay son. Thank you. All right, where's my tech gay? Come on, Josh.
I am here. I am working on
It's okay.
some lovely technical issues, but these are lovely pictures of Bob and Jeff.
Oh my God, these pictures right now.
That's Jeff
Jeff can get it.
those photos.
Take your time. We can look at more pictures. Wow.
Y'all are so cute, though.
So cute.
I think this one's my favorite. I love that cowboy getup.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's my May Western striptease.
Just the body. Oh
It's
my God.
beautiful.
So
yeah.
gorgeous.
Swimsuit
Okay.
optional. That's in Miami. Mhm.
This is
So we
super
can go
cute.
back to group screen. Thank you so much, Josh. And we can unmute
Of
everyone.
course. There we go. Everyone is unmuted and we are no longer spotlighting.
Okay, yeah, I want to see Damani's beautiful face. Look at you with your background.
Oh, I went out. I had to walk the dog. He's
Very
like,
nice. Sunny is so cute. I love Sunny.
he has his own Instagram. Yes,
Oh.
it's Sunny in Greenville, SUNNY, like the sun in Greenville. And
All right, I'm
I
on
pour
it.
all of my art pourings are all about him right now. My social media is not
Aw.
politics right now. It is not dissension. It's not right versus wrong. It's not you versus me. It's just, here's a dog. Here's a creature made by the goddesses, and everyone could do a little bit more for themselves to just chill out and relax a little bit and just realize that life is really a lot simpler than you think it is.
Yes.
Just where I'm at right now.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Demetrius. I want to thank you so much for sharing your story.
She's saying thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, you're welcome. I
And
know we're
that
here.
tank top.
Super
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's just, I look forward to safer times so that we can actually gather in real time and space, and we can hug and continue to deepen our friendship. And Damani, I wish you all of the safety, love, and joy this Pride.
Thank you so much, World Famous Bob.
Yes.
You know, I have to say, the very first time I saw you, like not on stage, but just in life, I remember I was sitting on the bus. It was the B62, I think, that you'd catch it from.
Oh, the B68.
The B68, yes.
Because I used to call it the B60 late.
Yes, exactly. I saw you on the B68, and my first thought was like, oh my God, it's like Jane Mansfield on a day off. Like, it was just so, I was very hesitant to want to like bother you and talk to you and stuff, because, you know, people are living their lives and they don't want to necessarily be fan personed over. But, you know, I really did. I think I saw you perform at a hotel. Might have seen you in, it was like a hotel in Midtown or something like that. And it was just, I don't know, there's something about what you're presenting to the world. Like, it's just, you could have on what you're wearing now, you could have on a bathrobe and nothing, and it's still you. Like, it still registers who you are and what you're trying to do, which is spread love. I get that. So
Thank you so much.
When I say it's a pleasure to be here, I really sincerely mean that, for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that you could make it, and thank you so much. And if anyone out there is as cute as Damani and you see me on a bus, you better say hey, because I'm not trying to not meet cuties. Okay?
Right. Yes.
Well, again, I want to thank Melissa at Vortex. I want to thank Josh, my tech gay, and I want to thank every single person that's been out at the demonstrations, that's been out marching. Please continue to do it safely.
Wear a mask.
Yes, I'm not in a physical place to be able to do it. I'm recovering from surgery, and I'm really, really grateful for those of you that are out there doing it. And I want to invite all of our viewers to think about one person they can thank this Pride, one person they can thank. And if they don't know how to reach them, or if they're not still living, you can always write a letter. It's still, the love still gets to them. And then I'd also like to invite everyone to come up with one action you can take. So one thank you and one action. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll be back.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back next month. Yeah.
Yay!
So stay tuned and just check out all the programming at the Vortex. There's such a wonderful home here in Austin for queer magical spaces that are being held on a regular basis. So thank you, everyone, and happy Pride.
Thank you.